Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. I'm hoping you've all had a wonderful weekend so far. This is going to be your daily cryptocurrency market update, and I think I've got many of your attentions now. We came out on the 1st of January and essentially said we're taking a non-bearish approach to the cryptocurrency market, and then actually later on down the line, I'd actually mentioned the fact that I had discussed with my Patreon members, and we'd actually taken action on this in regards to buying spot crypto up before this pump had even taken place, ladies and gentlemen. Not only did I discuss it with my Patreons, we were very much leaving that trail on here on YouTube. And actually, this is a tweet that I published on the 11th where we were highlighting some reasons not to be bearish anymore. And we said, actually, it doesn't make sense being bearish for me. The majority of that, we were big bears last year, and now we're actually we see more reason to be bullish than bearish, and we're taking a non-bearish approach and actually looking for being spot long crypto once again, having been out the market for the majority of last year. I had to swallow a real pill at the start of 2022, and that was that I got how the bull market ended wrong. We flipped round about when Bitcoin was 44k to bearish and mitigated a lot of that downside, having been wrong on how the bull market had ended. And that has really, we all make mistakes in life. And there's two kinds of people. There's two kinds of people that beat themselves up about that, and there's the other kinds of people that learn from it. And that's my intention, and it's why we've been so early on what is potentially a market shift, a trend shift from a bear to maybe the echoings, the startings of a new bull market. Because I got how 2022 ended wrong, looking at things like the RSI, which we're highlighting in this, and looking at a number of other metrics. We were looking at the likes of stablecoin dominance. We can bring that up again. We were also speculating on lower inflation, where rates are going before the CPI even came out and people switched to this very sort of dovish narrative. We were looking at all this preemptively, and my Patreon members, and this is the last time I'm going to mention the Patreon guys for this video anyway, were well up to date. You can see we were looking at ADA when it was 27 cents, and actually looking at Bitcoin when it was 16,888. It's currently 23,000 or roundabouts today, ladies and gentlemen. Anybody that's serious about getting this market right and looking to take advantage of what I believe potentially may be the biggest opportunity of all of our lifetimes, go and click that link in the description. Join the Patreon. You can join it for 1 month. If it's not for you, we've got altcoins on there. We've got everything. This channel is different from the rest, ladies and gentlemen, and hopefully I've been proving that to you over the past year or so, really mitigating a lot of this damage, and then actually sticking our neck on the line and saying, despite all the reasons to be bearish, we're not. And yes, we've been bearish, but we've switched our narrative, and we're looking at things objectively, not just emotionally with the rest of the crowd, because what happens to the sheep? They get led to the slaughter. And this rally is a hated one. We are going to get into it, guys. So yeah, last thing I'm going to mention, please feel free. We do weekly discussions. We talk about the macro and where crypto is, just like we do on here, but in a lot more detail. And then, of course, look to position. It's a lot more hands-on. But is this the start of the new bull market? Potentially. So even though we're not bearish, and we've actually been bullish, and we did accumulate spot crypto back at the start of the month, everyone's now come out bullish. Convenient, isn't it? Probably just in time for some sort of a correction. I do think that Bitcoin may correct back down to sort of 21,500. We were looking for a deeper pullback this week to maybe sub 20k. We didn't get it. It's just showing how much strength there is in the market. Right now, this is a very, very hated rally. You have the majority of people, and I can say that we're not a part of that, sat on the sidelines, still waiting for Armageddon. Still waiting for Genesis Fallout, all this stuff. What you got to understand with markets is when you have all these metrics and levels that are at these historic, it's the worst it's been in 40 years or 30 years or whatever it may be. Typically, that's the time you want to buy when these metrics that weigh up the economy are at low points. You want to sell when they're on their way to that low point, but when they're at these low points, actually is potentially where you want to buy. Historically, that's been the case. You don't necessarily want to buy when everything's in full swing and roaring. You want to take advantage of the kind of fear that's out there. And that's what we're really trying to do and have done thus far. Now, if this turns out to be the bottom, it will be an amazing call. We are also saying that it doesn't have to be. You have to prepare for both situations and hedge both ways. So if we did put down a new low, me and my community are well prepared for that and looking to take advantage of it and ready for it. But we're also not part of that group that is still extremely bearish, despite the price being down 70+% on Bitcoin and some altcoins nearly 96%. You're kind of late to that trend. And this is what we're trying to really teach on this channel. This is why we do macro analysis day in, day out. Whether I think it's very important. The channel's been getting hit hard. I don't know why it's not been getting as many views as it once did. It's because we're not sort of hyping things up and throwing all these massive price predictions out and calling for chaos anymore. And videos are popular that are on the side of the masses because that's what they want to watch. They want to confirm their biases. I don't give a shit about your bias. That's the truth. This is not how I make my living doing this. So I'm more than comfortable to challenge what the majority are thinking. And believe me, I've gained some crap for coming out non-bearish at the start of this month. Oh, well, last month you were saying that it's lower prices. Yeah, last month. What you got to understand is my job and how I make my living is through constantly reassessing these markets. And anybody that's been following closely enough, first of all, wouldn't have missed out on this rally. And second of all, will know the reasons why we looked and took potentially a non-bearish stance down here. And Bitcoin, since sort of first mentioned on my Patreon, is 35% up. And actually, altcoins significantly overperformed. It's a great group of people in there, guys. You'll be with like-minded individuals, free thinkers, critical thinkers that don't just want to be zombies and just follow the mainstream narrative. And you can actually see that, isn't it funny how often the largest channels out there and the largest kind of media outlets for this sort of stuff tend to be ran by idiots? Do you really think they want the majority of people getting clued up? I don't think so. They'll push the people that really, in my opinion, haven't got a clue what they're talking about and are just very good at presenting. Maybe that's something we lack. We're looking to maybe improve that. Anybody that thinks they can help me with that, I'm more than open for a conversation with you. Let's get into it, guys. So we said we're not bearish, but we weren't necessarily that bullish. We were just saying that actually maybe now's a good time to buy a little bit of crypto. And that's what we've done. And we will, potentially, and you can find out more about it, look to do a little bit more of that. And the only thing that we're really worried about is the yield curve, the coming crash that's on the horizon. Now, I actually talking about, you don't want to buy, or you want to buy when things are at a real low point. If we bring the yield curve up, and then we're going to talk about Bitcoin from a technical level. Not sure what I was trying to show people here. If we bring the yield curve up, we'll get rid of whatever kind of draw or demonstration I was trying to do here. Every time it goes past this zero line, it predicts a recession's on the horizon. But actually, overlaying the S&P, it's not until the chart is uninverted that you get the crash take place. I think this is what I was trying to show people. So this is kind of predicting that it's quite likely that there's going to be a rally for the markets and the crash won't come until this is uninverted. So here's where potentially you want to be reassessing and looking, and things are looking for those divergences. So this is all stuff that we spoke about previously. I don't really want to butcher it and go over it to death. But we are now, in my opinion, looking for continuation to the upside. There's going to be pullbacks. These may be opportunities for you guys to load up. But I do think that crypto stands a very good chance. We did kind of say, look, you might be looking at 30K by may even come sooner. And people were saying that's outlandish. How can you say that? And how can you sort of have pivoted, at the start of the month, whereas you've been very bearish all last year? It's my job to do so. Isn't it funny how actually you had people like Jamie Dimon come out and say that their market outlook has changed? Paul Kruger, a Nobel Prize winning economist, all coming out and saying that they've switched their narrative on the markets and they were a bit too doom and gloom on it. We're kind of doing a similar thing. So yeah, so this is a structure that's of interest to me. We've highlighted all these divergences on the weekly. Bullish divergence. We've continued to say this before the 1st of January, in fact, and we've said it was going to lead to a rally. this has to be taken seriously in the same way that I should have taken this seriously. Like I say, I made a huge mistake last year at the start of it. I won't make that mistake again. You've got to be humble before the markets and understand that you can be wrong. We also, just to bring this up again, stablecoin dominance. We've been spot on about that as well. Spot on about that. In fact, go and look at this tweet, guys. We don't get anywhere near the credit that we deserve because it's all about fundamentals and making people feel comfortable and confident in themselves. Well, I'm here to actually do the opposite and make you challenge and look within yourself and go, okay, being comfortable, you make a lot more progression if you're kind of on the periphery of things. So this potentially is a falling wedge, a macro falling wedge that you may have just broken out of. This is your essentially a trend line that you've been very much held under, depending on how you want to draw it. You know, you could draw it going down here and you could say that this is more of the break if you wanted to. But this is potentially what you're looking at. And let's go to a 3-day chart. Some sort of a break, and this could be a falling wedge structure that you've now broken out of. Now, with any breakout, you do get a retest. So I would look for something like this before we get that continuation. And this may come on the back of what we thought was going to happen last week. It kind of did. So we were right to a degree, which was dollar strength and stock market weakness. But the stock market now has rejected like we said it would, but actually seen that upside on the back end of it. So we did say it would reject it. It has done that. We thought Bitcoin would suffer at the hands of it a little bit more, but it's now looking for that upside. So if you break this trend line, well, guess what, guys? You're invalidating a bear market that, by the way, let's talk about our bullish divergences again. People don't like RSIs. I do. Bullish divergence. Got to take these seriously. Bearish divergence. Got to take them seriously. Yes, it's a lagging indicator. Yes, there's flaws to it, but it does have, it's a great way to look at a macro trend and see when it's vulnerable. And this is what we've been doing. And this is actually something that I should have paid attention to back in, at the end of 2021. I didn't. If I had, I'd have been well ahead of the curve. It's why we're where we are today, ahead of the curve, ahead of the majority of people that are now looking at the crypto space and going, oh, maybe I should have bought at the start of the month. Go and check the Patreon out, guys. If it's not for you, you can cancel your membership. If it is, welcome to the cult. Welcome to the family. Yeah, I don't really want to do too much shilling, but I do think, I do think what we've got here is something special. And it's something that, if I had had somebody like myself and a group like this to be a part of back in 2017, 2018, I'd have done a lot better. So potentially looking at falling wedge here. Doesn't have to be the case. These are just some examples that I've been looking at. Just basic TA. You can see this kind of a thing. Usually falling wedges have 3 impulses. Doesn't have to be the case, but it may be. And you can see these are quite common in macro trends. Now, Bitcoin's quite a specific case, but you can see that, you can see the similarities here. And if this is the breakout, then you do have targets taking you back to new all-time highs. Now, I'm not calling for new all-time highs just yet. I think there is still a demand-killing event on the horizon, but do you want to be sat just waiting for that and then have to miss out on all the upside? We certainly didn't, and that's why we've taken the actions that we've taken. It's really all I've got for you. Not a lot of news, guys. We covered a lot of news yesterday. We'll see what happens. We're going to be playing it by ear. This could potentially be the start of a new bull. We'll see. I do expect to pull back at some point with more sort of longevity. Let this move play out, in my opinion. But I do think that, actually, I do think this could be overcooked where it's at. I do think that, there's a lot more to this. And actually, isn't it funny how we've got a kind of directional change on the sort of macroeconomic side of things as well as with crypto. And crypto often is going to front run things. It front run interest rate hikes before the stock market, and it will likely front run prices or interest rate cuts, which are now being priced into the market. All I've got for you beautiful people on this video. If you've enjoyed the content, like is massively appreciated. So is a comment, and look forward to seeing you all in the next one. Thanks a lot for watching, guys.